Donald Trump sworn in as the 47th President of the United States, saying the golden age of America begins right now. Trump issues a slew of executive orders on matters ranging from immigration to energy and criminal pardons. And the U.S. Senate confirms Marco Rubio as Secretary of State. Hello and welcome to TVB News. I'm Melissa Hekalea. Donald Trump has begun erasing Joe Biden's legacy immediately after taking office as the 47th U.S. president. On Monday, Trump signed a slew of executive orders and also rescinded dozens of directives issued by his predecessor, including those relating to climate change and diversity. 4 years after being voted out of the White House, Trump is back with a second chance to launch what he called a golden age for the country. Tracy Furness reports.
Due to the cold weather in Washington, D.C., Donald Trump's inauguration ceremony took place indoors in the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol at noon yesterday. The oath of office administered by Chief Justice John Roberts.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
Laying out plans for his term in office includes leading a government that Trump says expands our territory, a reference to his goals of acquiring Greenland from Denmark and restoring U.S. control of the Panama Canal.
Panama's promise to us has been broken. The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form, and that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
Attending Trump's inauguration, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Argentine President Javier Milei, and China's Vice President Han Zheng. At the White House, Trump signed a slew of executive orders on his first day in office. He declared a national emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border, which would unlock funding and allow him to dispatch troops there. He signed an order that would end a policy that confers citizenship to those born in the United States. Another executive order designated Mexican drug cartels as terrorist organizations. Trump also declared a national energy emergency to accelerate oil, gas, and power projects. He is also pulling his country out of the World Health Organization and once again withdrew the U.S. from the Paris climate deal. His other goals include renaming Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America, halting DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, implementing a government hiring freeze and creating an advisory body dubbed the Department of Government Efficiency, which is meant to help Trump take huge chunks out of the federal government and eliminate some agencies. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump has pardoned, commuted the prison sentences, or vowed to dismiss the cases of all of the 1,500 plus people charged with crimes in the January 6, 2021 U.S. Capitol riot. More from Danny Zhou.
On day one of his presidency, Donald Trump granted sweeping pardons for nearly all the rioters in the Capitol attack, who tried to upend the peaceful transfer of power on January the 6th, 2021.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon. Yes. Full pardon.
The mass pardons granted full clemency to scores of other defendants convicted of felony crimes, like violence against police and destroying property. Trump also commuted the sentences of 14 far-right extremists, including the leaders of Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. Earlier, thousands of supporters and members of the new U.S. administration joined the presidential parade at Capital One Arena, where Trump promised to release what he called hostages.
They said, don't talk about the J6 hostages that you're going to be releasing today. Sir, don't put that in your speech, please. I said, but I want to put it in my speech. They said, sir, it won't be unified like it is. It's so beautiful the way it is. And it is getting great reviews.
Trump revoked nearly 80 executive actions put in place by his predecessor. He rescinded Joe Biden's policies regulating artificial intelligence and electric vehicles, marking a major shift in federal oversight. Trump also pledged to sign an order directing every agency to preserve all records pertaining to political persecutions under the Biden administration. During his presidential campaign, Trump has threatened to slap a 25% tax on imports from Mexico and Canada and a hefty 60% duty on China. When asked about his tariff policy at the Oval Office, Trump noted Washington is not ready for universal tariffs yet. In addition to this, he signed the closely watched orders to delay the enforcement of America's TikTok ban.
The U.S. should be entitled to get half of TikTok. And congratulations, TikTok has a good partner. And that would be worth, could be $500 billion or something. It's crazy. The numbers are crazy.
While Trump unexpectedly held off tariffs on China on his first day in office, he said he might impose tariffs if Beijing does not approve the potential U.S. deal with TikTok. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Former U.S. President Joe Biden wrapped up a more than 50-year political career on Monday, but promised that we're not leaving the fight as he bid farewell to the presidency. President Donald Trump and wife Melania, with Vice President J.D. Vance and wife Usha, walked Joe Biden and wife Jill to a waiting Marine helicopter on the Capitol grounds. The helicopter flew them to Joint Air Base Andrews in Maryland for a farewell event with Biden's staff. Before leaving office, Biden issued last-minute preemptive pardons for several of his immediate family members and people that Trump has targeted for retaliation. They include Dr. Anthony Fauci, the former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, retired General Mark Milley, and members of the House committee that investigated the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol. There has been international reaction to the inauguration speech and Trump's statements that followed as he plowed through executive orders. Trump says he wants to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Joe Biden had not spoken face-to-face with Putin since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. David Garrett reports.
Down to business for the 47th US president as he signed executive orders. He outlines plans. Donald Trump has already said he wants to visit China in his first 100 days in office and now wants a meeting with Russia's Vladimir Putin.
I have to speak to President Putin. We're going to have to find out. He can't be thrilled. He's not doing so well. I mean, he's grinding it out, but most people thought that war would have been over in about 1 week. And now you're into 3 years, right? So he can't be thrilled. It's not making him look very good.
Neither Putin nor the Kremlin has reacted, but yesterday when chairing a security meeting, Putin said Trump had a courageous and convincing victory, referencing the assassination attempt. Putin suggesting he's open to dialogue with the US with the need to prevent World War III. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky calls Trump decisive and praised his peace through strength policy, adding strong Trump leadership can bring along and just peace. After Trump said again at his inauguration he wants the US to take back the Panama Canal, Panama's president responded quickly, saying the canal belongs and will remain part of the country of 4 million people. These Panamanian musicians on the streets of Panama City also dismissed Trump's claim, with one resident saying, honestly, the canal belongs to this city, to Panamanians. TVB spoke to a former US consul general in Hong Kong who says Trump's pursuit of the waterway could be a major mistake.
The one that actually worries me the most that the US might make a miscalculation is the Panama Canal question, because that territory was acquired by the United States through, let's say, forceful foreign policy 120 years ago, and resulted in the building of the canal. And I personally think that, I'm not a Latin America person, but I personally think that would be an enormous mistake in terms of maintaining strong U.S. relations with Latin America.
David Garrett, TVB News.
Marco Rubio was confirmed as Trump's Secretary of State by the U.S. Senate. He sailed through what was a more ceremonial vote of 99-0. The 53-year-old says his top priority is to end the war in Ukraine. Rubio is the first person of Hispanic heritage to hold the top diplomatic post. He's been a harsh critic of China, saying America must change course to avoid being too reliant on Beijing. Russian President Vladimir Putin held a video call with President Xi Jinping today, in which he proposed further developing their strategic partnership. This just hours after Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th U.S. president. Putin waved at Xi, addressing him as his dear friend, and said he wanted to outline new plans for the development of the Russian-Chinese Comprehensive Partnership and strategic cooperation. Putin said he agreed that cooperation between Moscow and Beijing is based on a broad commonality of national interests and a convergence of views on what relations between major powers should be. He said their ties are built on friendship, mutual trust and support, and equality and mutual benefit. Eden Woon, president of the American Chamber of Commerce, said bilateral relations between China and the U.S. will not significantly worsen in the near future, but pointed out underlying problems between the countries will remain. Timothy Lee tells us more.
With President Trump once again setting foot into the Oval Office, the world speculates about the future of the Sino-US relationship. Eden Woon, president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong, said there are some positive signals, but uncertainties remain.
Donald Trump is really hard to tell because he says a lot of things which to ordinary people seem very surprising. But sometimes he says it because he believes it. Sometimes he says it for bargaining reasons. Obviously, it was a positive move on his part to invite Mr. Xi Jinping to the inauguration. And I think that sending the Vice President Han Zheng is also a good move. So this is a good beginning. And let's see what happens substantively. And a meeting within the first 100 days if Mr. Trump gets to go to China.
Woon also noted it is not easy for U.S. companies to stay in Hong Kong under the current political climate.
The U.S.-Hong Kong relations are not going to get too much better if the U.S.-China relations do not improve. Many American companies are determined to stay here and determined to make a go of it.
Regarding Trump's statements on obtaining the Panama Canal and Greenland, Woon said the claims could just be for shock value.
He calls himself a big a deal maker. So in the case of Panama or even Greenland, you just don't know whether he's doing it for bargaining purposes.
Eden Woon said it remains difficult to determine the course of the Sino-American relationship in the next few months. He added many American businesses in Hong Kong have already prepared in advance for further tension between the two countries. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
A magnitude 6.4 earthquake struck southern Taiwan early today, leaving 27 people with minor injuries and some reported damage. The quake hit at 12:17 a.m. It was centered 38 kilometers southeast of Chiayi County and had a depth of 10 kilometers. There were reports of minor to moderate damage around the cities of Chiayi and Tainan. About 24 people were sent to hospital for minor injuries, including a 1-month-old baby rescued from a collapsed house. South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol appeared in court today. He denied that he had ordered the military to drag out lawmakers at the National Assembly to prevent them from voting down his martial law decree last month. Appearing for the first time at the Constitutional Court, Yoon reiterated that his mobilization of troops was not aimed at frustrating a vote on his decree. He said lawmakers could have gathered somewhere to overturn it. He also argued that he could not afford backlashes if he pushed to obstruct an assembly vote physically. Welcome back. A 29-year-old man was rescued from Myanmar after being held captive in a scam park for 4 months. Former Yaotsemong District Councillor Andy Yu said the rescue was conducted by Myanmar military authorities. Secretary for Security Chris Tang said 10 people remain kidnapped in the Southeast Asian region. Mimo Singai reports.
Former Yaotsemong District Councillor Andy Yu, who has been helping the families of the victims, said the 29-year-old man went to Thailand in October last year for work. He was then abducted to Myanmar and held captive for 4 months. After being rescued, the man is now in Thailand and may be required to stay in the country for some time before he can return home.
She told me about the situation. The Thai government and the Myanmar government send the enemy out. He may facing some legal procedure from the Thai government or the police forces, so he may need to take more time to come back to Hong Kong.
On Tuesday, the Hong Kong government dispatched a task force team to Thailand to assist the victim. Without mentioning Yu's name in a media session, Secretary for Security Chris Tan said authorities appreciate his effort. However, he said it may not be a good thing for individuals to announce information they have received from the victims' families to the public when they are not aware of the Security Bureau's work. Yu responded to the comment.
But for me, I would like to do my job to help more Hong Kong people back. He also thanked you for my help, okay? And I accept that, and I hope the government can do more.
Members 9, TVB News.
Sources say a mainland student has lost over $1.8 million after falling victim to scammers. She studies at the University of Hong Kong. This after another mainland student at Hong Kong U was swindled out of $9.2 million last week. The latest case involves a 22-year-old student who received a scam call in December last year. Posing as an immigration department official and a police officer from Nanjing, the scammers asked the student to set up bank accounts at designated banks for asset inspection purposes. If not, she would be arrested. She was then told to transfer the money to the accounts to prove her innocence. Between December 30th and January 17th, the student transferred more than $1.8 million to the scammer's faster payment system accounts. The victim contacted the police after learning about another Hong Kong U student losing $9.2 million to scammers. The Competition Commission has launched a one-stop information website to enhance small and medium-sized enterprises' understanding of the competition ordinance, which will also help them identify potential risks. Anip has the story.
The website Small and Medium Enterprises Competition Compliance Hub, or SME Hub, is aimed at helping SMEs in understanding the ordinance and developing internal compliance strategies. The ordinance is in place to prohibit conduct that restricts competition in the hope of creating a fairer business environment in Hong Kong.
We have a more detailed explanation using simple language, and also to explain the idea and all aspects of the competition ordinance. And the second part is we have introduced a risk assessment tool. So the tool is based on some scenarios where we presume SME employees would encounter, and provide some suggestions how they should react.
A survey revealed that most SMEs do not provide relevant training on the competition ordinance.
We realized that they have some confusion about some details regarding the law. We find out that SMEs may not have the necessary resources to implement compliance plan within the company.
Xiu says large corporations can hire professionals to help them comply, but SMEs can't always afford these services, putting them at a greater risk of breaking the law. Xiu adds the website is an important initiative for deterring anti-competitive conduct at the outset. SMEs and the public can now visit the Competition Commission's website to access the information and tools available on the SME Hub. TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.